we are, the Wrestle Control Podcast, episode 799. This is the recap of AEW WrestleDream from Seattle's Climate Pledge Arena. And tonight, the rated R superstar Adam Copeland, we know him as Edge, has made it into the company. And he comes in the post-match angle to help out Darby Allin and Sting, as we had a heel turn from Nick Wayne, who helps out Christian Cage, and Luchasaurus coming to his aid at ringside. Christian Cage, after he wins 2 out of 3 falls to retain the TNT title. And Edge comes out to his normal entrance music that we're familiar with. Basically the entrance, nothing really changes. It's still Edge. The only thing that is different at all when it comes to Adam Copeland's appearance tonight is he's not being called Edge, but he is being called the rated R superstar and his real name. There you go. And I prefer it better that way. And so all the talk that we had earlier this week about Adam Copeland, about Jade Cargill, going into the WWE and the Performance Center. Well, this right here probably just overshadowed everything else that was going on with just this week, because AEW right now just got themselves a pretty big run on this, and it was wow. And we're going to hear from Adam Copeland on Dynamite for the 4th anniversary of the show. So this basically trumps everything else that happened tonight on the program, because if I'm correct, I'm looking here, we did not have any title changes. Am I right? I'm looking here, and no, I don't see anyone that had any title changes. Felt like an exhibition for the most part, but that's okay. The whole night was wonderful. Like, every match just had something good about it. It felt like it was well timed. Every match, either was either physical or just very much just a throwdown fight. And it was just incredible the way they put it all together. But yeah, the fact that we're going to get now Adam Copeland and Christian Cage, the Christian Cage character, which is so different than the Christian we had in WWE. Remember, this is the Christian Cage that had AJ Styles as a lackey, right? Or, you had it was just a different thing. Christian Cage this is the TNA version becoming the AEW version. This is the version of Christian Cage I always liked. And because he's now become so diabolical, the way they set it up with him and Darby Allin, this last few months right now, after Jack Perry was a believer and then was thrown to the wayside, which, by the way, Jack Perry has not come back at all. I'm just worried, just kind of curious about that after the whole FTW title thing. But anyways, to see Adam Copeland come out, the crowd, after a pretty exhausting night of 4 hours of wrestling, we get this here, a cool promo to get things started before Edge comes out to the ring. And I'm just going to call him Edge tonight just because everybody will know who it is. And then we'll see him come out going forward as Adam Copeland, and we'll just call him that. Okay? Maybe we might call him Edge once in a while because that's just people are familiar with it. That's okay. So coming out, the whole entrance, I didn't feel like it was blasphemy. I don't feel like it was anything wrong. I just feel like with Edge coming into this company, this is not as if, first of all, I don't feel like when they finished the storyline up with him and Beth Phoenix going after Judgment Day, I personally didn't want to go and see Edge just go and go by the wayside and not get to be seen out again till he goes away. The same way where Daniel Bryan was being used a certain way, and then couldn't go out and wrestle anymore. These guys just want to keep going. They're not holding back. So Bryan Danielson has been able to go ahead and have the other part of his career for the last year or so, plus, to be able to enjoy what he wanted to do and be able to go out and get some great matches tonight, including the match tonight with Zack Sabre Jr. Fantastic. The stuff he did with Ricky Starks a couple weeks ago, in the Texas Death Match, also wonderful. Across the board, he's gotten a lot of great matches, and, with the occasional issues of the injuries that he's had that have been kind of plaguing his career, a part of his career, he comes back here and is having a great old time. And Edge sees AEW as a haven for talent. Listen, it's not a step down for him to be here. And I don't think he necessarily he really does anything to, necessarily up the ante when the company comes in. I mean, listen, he's bringing a lot of eyes in. There's no doubt about that. But I don't feel like where WWE fans are going to obviously be fickle about it, and they're going to say, oh, well, he's coming to AEW. He's the most important thing they have now. I mean, I think you could probably go ahead and, for his buzz right now, probably. But he'll be brought into a place where he'll be into that mix. But preferably for this angle right here. If we're going with Edge and Christian now against each other in these two forms, because, I mean, are we going to get the same Edge that we have going over to AEW as a face? We're not going to get crazy Edge. We're not going to get the goofy Edge. I don't believe we're going to get that. I really feel like the AEW version of Adam Copeland is going to be the serious one. There's not going to be any part of the feel of the rated R superstar that's going to be like what it is. I mean, you know, who knows if they're going to really play into that or not. But I think it'll be exactly what Daniel Bryan gets to be. What became as Bryan Danielson again. Or the same way it goes with Jon Moxley, leaving as Dean Ambrose. They're not playing up the sports entertainment kind of thing. This is a wrestling thing again. And Edge gets to come out here wrestling. So, your classic storylines, not the over-embellished, tagged with kind of certain things that have to be said. I just feel like we're going to get a straight-up Adam Copeland Wednesday night. And when he comes out there, that's going to pop a rating. Let's just make that clear. I have no doubt in my mind that Dynamite will garner over 1 million viewers live on Wednesday night. That's pretty sure of that. There'll be enough fans that will be curious enough to go and watch the first 20 minutes just to see what he does. Because they gave this match with Darby Allin and Christian Cage the main event. That was one cue that tells me that I thought maybe after the match was done, yeah, here at this point, especially when I saw Christian Cage pulling the mats up from the ring and exposing the wood, which I don't remember if we've seen that in AEW or not. I mean, it was always an Impact Wrestling thing, and I know, pretty sure WWE did it already before as well. So they see that here, and by the way, Darby Allin, again, the guy's like a test pilot. I don't even know how he goes through and takes all the bumps that he does. That one on the shoulder on the stairs looked brutal. It was, I mean, really looked bad. But he takes them. And I didn't feel anything shortened by the fact that he decided to put this match in the main event. And it's not anything to do with the fact that, okay, in the main event, we're going to have Adam Copeland come out at the end of the match. I don't think it was that part. Because even if you just went ahead and just had Christian Cage finish the match off, and it was done, but the post-match heat that he picked up after that, and the concerto, I mean, you couldn't expect anything less but to think Adam Copeland would be able to come out if he could. And he did. That all made sense. It works for me. There's going to be a lot of blasphemy being said by the WWE fans out there, I'm sure. Listen, a lot of fans that will not realize you're watching AEW tonight, they're hearing about it during Monday Night Raw. Hey, did you hear Edge went to AEW? What? We've heard the rumors about it. Now it comes to play. And that's going to be the talk on wrestling Twitter, wrestling TikTok. I'm sure of it. And once that happens, fans are going to just say, well, he's, trash now. They're going to go ahead and put him under the bus because it's just like, okay, persona non grata anymore. If you're not with our team, then we don't care about you anymore. Screw the 20 years you were with us. Like, that's how it kind of feels like, 25 years, excuse me. Even more than that. So when that happens, they're going to look at him and they're going to see him as a castaway. Oh, he's old now. They're not going to get the best out of him. Listen, you don't even need to have Edge and Christian have like incredible matches, of work rate that are like blow the roof off of like anything else we're seeing out there. There's so much psychology here with Edge and Christian if they're getting the chance to do this right. Like, I don't want the Edge and Christian with the flash photography. I don't want that kind of stuff. Listen, I know everybody enjoys that version of them. I got it. But see, it was always that when Christian was over in WWE, whenever he was there, Edge was always first billing. And Christian Cage, being in TNA, to Impact Wrestling. Well, he was never part of Impact Wrestling. It was only TNA, right? And then he comes into AEW, and he's basically the version of Christian Cage you remember. You know, the instant classic. We see him in here in AEW, and this level he's done right now, this veteran character that is like, again, the patriarch, the great father figure, all that stuff, has been fantastic. I really enjoy what they've done with Christian Cage because he's at a certain level where he just is an escalation of what he would have been in a TNA anyway, and the character that he had. Now he's here. He's got the title. He was able to go and get it off of Luchasaurus. And now he still was able to keep Luchasaurus under control. And Luchasaurus wins over Nick Wayne earlier in the night in 0 Hour. And then we come back to this again. And Nick Wayne, with a setup of taking the title from Christian Cage in the match to make it look like Darby Allin was going to go in. And I kind of felt like Nick Wayne, if you're going to get him over, the whole deal with AR Fox and Swerve Strickland, and like anytime he was attached to Darby Allin, Nick Wayne got his ass kicked. So to get him here and side with somebody, I kind of feel like he kind of gives me that Colby Carino kind of vibe. Because when you have, and the thing is, there's no father figure there. So I'm hoping that Christian Cage starts saying, well, you know, I am the great father. Look what I'm doing for Nick. I'm like the son that I didn't have. He's like my son. And they're going to basically play that. And Nick Wayne will go along with that. You know, talking to my dad like that. It's like, there's something about that delusion that'll work. And that crowd will just eat it up. And it's a way to get Nick Wayne over. We already know the guy's is a prodigy. The guy can work really well for his age. And to put him in this role here is a good move. I like the booking on that. And to see where, okay, at Full Gear, maybe we get to what? Sting, Darby Allin, and Adam Copeland against Nick Wayne, Luchasaurus, and Christian Cage? Is that where we go with that? We can have the 6-man tag right now. Put that up for Full Gear if you want to do it and get somewhere started. But the Edge and Christian match, you know, we can have these two playing chess with each other and just taking moves after moves with each other while you have Darby Allin in the mix, Nick Wayne in the mix, Luchasaurus in the mix. And maybe there's some of the people that get brought in. But where Edge and Christian are at words or at odds with each other, and how you build up that match. I mean, do you want to table it to Revolution? Do you want to table it into Double or Nothing? I mean, how far do you go ahead and stretch out this feud to get it to where you need to go? Because to me, I think you can always bring people into the mix, and there's a whole lot there. Like right now, Christian Cage and even where Edge was doing with Judgment Day, they are in the mentor roles. So to get them to do this is good. And, you know, also to see Edge with Sting, that was really cool. Because I don't think, Sting wasn't in WWE long enough to go and work. Everybody wanted to work on the roster because of the whole deal with Seth Rollins and an injury he had. So this is the chance to go work with Stinger. Like, I mean, that was like, wow, that's pretty cool. That was a cool moment to me right there. I love the fact to see Edge and Sting together in the ring and to see what they're going to do together. That's impressive. And the thing is, you still got the TNT titles now in the mix in a very prominent storyline. That's huge. There's a lot more to say about it, but we'll go ahead and hold off on going any more into speculation of what Adam Copeland's going to be in this company. But the impact he creates the buzz. I mean, it overshadows everything else that was on the card, which was surprising to me because the card was really good. A lot of great matches across the board. 10 matches in the main card. And to get ourselves here and end up with like, wow, what a freaking night. I mean, there was a bunch of highlights to go with it. John Moxley on commentary during the matches with Wheeler Yuta and Bryan Danielson he was great for 30 minutes. That guy was just so raw and so uninhibited and was just really relaxed. I loved it. Like, and people were definitely saying a lot with him online about how well they liked John Moxley on commentary. So yeah, if he wants to go and do that, he'd be good at it. I wasn't surprised that he couldn't be anyway. So in the matches themselves, MJF, he handles the Righteous. You know, And they made the match kind of fun. They made the match very much viral because of just the way that MJF has gotten over with its audience with no Adam Cole. Wow. Really cool way how they did that. And MJF still kind of kept who he is, which is the one thing I'm surprised with, is that MJF still gets to still be he's still the asshole. And he is a babyface, but he does give off that, he still has that MJF mentality. He still has that kind of feel to himself, which is, I enjoy that. This version of face MJF is really good. And it took something like an Adam Cole and to build off of that to create this dynamic. And the audible to go and have MJF go with the righteous here and go put the tag team titles on the line, pretty impressive. Well, what are you going to do next? Because where Adam Cole comes in, I mean, is MJF going to continue doing this? And by the way, the world title was not on the line in anything right now and has still not been defended in a while. It's still what? I mean, it's been since Adam Cole faced MJF at All Out Wembley. That's the last time we saw the belt defended. So, are we going to get to a point where the Ring of Honor tag team titles take a little bit of a back seat and then MJF goes back out and handles the Jay White situation, and that becomes a match we get at Full Gear because you got to do something while you get Adam Cole in the mix. And by the way, we have no answer as to who the devil was in that costume, in the mask that attacked Jay White. So anybody that thought it was going to be Adam Copeland, no. He didn't look tall enough. He didn't look burly enough. So to me, I didn't think it was going to be Adam Copeland. But we still don't know who that is. And that's got to be answered in that storyline with Jay White. They'll probably address that on Dynamite. And then you got Eddie Kingston and Katsuyori Shibata, and Eddie Kingston finishes off well. Ring of Honor World Champion, New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong Openweight Champion. And Eddie Kingston, man, he's having the time of his life. Signed a new contract. That guy's just brilling it up. Very physical, strong style match. And Eddie Kingston, I never thought we were going to get to the point where he was going to get these matches in Japan and the adulations he gets right now in AEW. I mean, he's living the life right now. He's living the career now that he could have only dreamed of. And I'm so happy for him. You know, it's like Eddie Kingston would have never gotten a run or a rub in WWE anyway, unless he got himself in shape. I mean, if they were ever going to consider him, but probably not. And this is where AEW, and you can say what you want about it, I think what they do with folks like Eddie Kingston, they've done a really good job of propping them up and making them very important and building them up to a certain level of star where they have improved and they developed really well and become very popular result. Same thing with, Konosuke Takeshita. The level they've brought him up to is incredible. I really enjoy what they do with him. And tonight, in their match, where Don Callis' family took on Chris Jericho and the Golden Elite, love that. Now, we'll get back to that match in a minute, but now, Julia Hart has improved a lot. Like, I mean, you think about where she is now when she first got sprayed by the House of Black, by Malachi Black, as one of the Varsity Blondes cheerleader. And that transformation of this character to where she is now. And she's gotten better in the ring. Her personality, the persona that she has out there is really, really good. And her moveset's really much better. Like her and Sky Blue at the same time, they were building up, working a lot of dark matches. And you can see you were kind of moving on to their own. And right now, I really like where Julia Hart is right now in her development. She's doing really well. And it's one of the originals we've had within the company. And that's where women's wrestling need to go and have more people to come in on the front and do something. And Kris Statlander does retain the title, which is good. But Julia Hart, keep an eye on her because she's starting to hold her own with the House of Black. For the one female in that faction, she's doing really well. That 4-way tag team title match, or the tag team contenders match, future world tag team title match, Young Bucks blowing up the spot. Incredible what they are able to go and still do. Like all these years watching them on TV. And they continue to just amaze. Like I said, I remember watching them as Generation B back in TNA. And we're talking about 10, 12 years later, and they're still kicking ass. because I didn't get to see them as young bucks. But all these years, man, and they continue just to go ahead and just amaze. Lucha Brothers, so Rey Fenix was out early on and didn't see him back on. And even though Shivani talking about on commentary, we never saw Rey Fenix, so no chance to see them, Lucha Brothers, get back into the mix. Orange Cassidy and Hook is an interesting team. Hook had a lot of good time in there, and, you know, they kind of just set things up. And Austin and Colton, the Guns, man, just they really look good out there. I really enjoy their work. They have, I mean, and remember, you think about some of the stars they had on Dark and Dark Elevation for so long that constantly were on that show. We saw them develop in front of us. The Gun Club, the Acclaimed, Julia Hart, Sky Blue, and think about it. So that show was not a throwaway in the slightest. Look at how many stars we saw that went through, you know, the Universal Studios. They went to the soundstage, right? The old TNA soundstage. Or they got to work in front of the crowds and get to work those matches. And they got all that time out there. Dark was really important for them. And that was a cool thing. Now, it was kind of hard to keep up with that show, but like they did do a lot of good stuff in there. And, I mean, they still have time to go and have a lot of matches on the show. They're just kind of doing the things up where I feel like Rampage has become what Dark is. But I think it still steps up to a certain level because their main events still stand out. And the matches they're showing on Rampage are not bad. Like if you got time to watch it on Friday nights or look back for it, it's not a show that you don't necessarily feel like you're going to miss a lot on that show, but you're still going to get a good hour of AEW no matter what. I still feel like you get that. So the show still has a purpose. That's for the fact they don't have Dark and Dark Elevation anymore. Now, moving along, the Swerve Strickland Hangman Adam Page match, that was impressive. Swerve Strickland in this match with Adam Page, and to see Swerve Strickland, one of the few times you see where the crowd flips the script. And Swerve Strickland being the hometown totally gets this big crowd response, and Adam Page is getting booed like a damn heel. And those guys threw it out there, a long match, very physical, good stuff. And Swerve Strickland, right now, that Mogul Embassy, I like where they're moving him up right now in the mix. And Swerve Strickland, somewhere down the line, I don't know what you do with him if he gets to a point where he starts looking at titles. Right? He's already, gone after the tag team titles, right? Singles titles right now with him, either for Ring of Honor, but right now there's nobody that you can go after in Ring of Honor because of, unless it's Samoa Joe for the TV title. Or Eddie Kingston, I don't see that happening. But I can see him going after belts right now, international title with Rey Fenix in the mix. But I don't know yet. But Swerve Strickland, keep an eye on him. They're definitely building him to a certain spot. Ricky Starks, Wheeler Yuta, and a 10-minute match, but also very good, very physical. Bryan Danielson, Zack Sabre Jr., quite a technical prowess in the whole match with that. But what kept me really enjoying those two matches, which I think it does help to complement the matches, was hearing Jon Moxley on commentary, so you were not just there with just the moves being called out. I think Jon Moxley definitely added some seasoning to that commentary in these two matches that were really straight up. The Don Callis family. Don Callis, man, what incredible heat this guy gets. That's just great. And let me tell you, every time we see another painting with him with the Last Supper, like, man, how blasphemous are you going to be? But I like the whole thing. The ominous sound that comes across, not even music, it's just an ominous rolling sound that goes across. Sounds like something out of Cloverfield that he gets in here. And it's incredible. What a team with Don Callis family. I mean, again, a great talent he has in his faction. Chris Jericho looking great out there. Kota Ibushi looking great out there. Also taking some hits that I'm like, I don't even know how that guy kept working around. But yeah, what a hell of a match for those six, excuse me. The FTR Aussie Open match, man, it was good, but man, you could just tell, like, some of these matches they had in here, the crowd had to be a little bit tired because they were getting into like match after match after match, and like there was no bathroom breaks. as like most AEW pay-per-views, they just run through this thing so quickly and just hit every match. Bam, 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 bam. You're just not holding back on anything. Quite a thing, man. Let me tell you what. But FTR retains. I kind of figured that was going to be. And the Christian Cage Darby Allin match, quite a match for main event. I'm glad to see Darby Allin got a main event match. That's great for him. Just like Orange Cassidy got a main event match. I mean, it feels like when Tony Khan's just kind of booking the matches, he's kind of just doing it where it's like, okay, and we're going to throw a bone to somebody, one of the pillars, he does it. He gave us the Fatal 4-Way with the pillars. He gave us an Orange Cassidy International Championship match in a main event. And he also gave us this TNT title match with Darby Allin in the main event. Like, that's pretty cool stuff. And it doesn't diminish the shows at all. I think it really just helps out. But the flow of this whole pay-per-view, the whole thing they set it up, the one thing that was kind of interesting to me is I've obviously gave some mentions and a couple of notes where you can see some symbolism and some certain moves that were being put out there because of the tribute to Antonio Inoki. I kind of figured they were going to do something within the night where they were going to kind of give a little more of a certificate tribute to Antonio Inoki to let people recognize who this is being tributed to. They didn't really go that route. You just went ahead and just did the matches. So, like, the purpose of WrestleDream was to honor, the life and times of Antonio Inoki, one of the pillars when it comes to Japan and the creation of New Japan Pro Wrestling and what he meant to Japanese wrestling in general. He's like the Hulk Hogan of it, because obviously he took on Hulk Hogan back in the 80s and stuff. And those guys had great matches together. So I love all that. What a night of wrestling. It was across the board. And AEW just gives me a different feel and a different vibe because of how they do their matches, that it's wrestling heavy. And that's fine. Listen, that's what Impact Wrestling, that's what WCW did for me, that's what ECW did for me. You don't necessarily go overly intricate on storylines, but you get the feuds, you get the heat, you understand it. It's pretty simple and it's pretty straightforward. And we get that. And it works. But we're just trying to wait and see if there's other stars going to be coming in that are going to go ahead and break a certain level. Break past that normal threshold that the AEW always has right now for some of their stars. Like MJF is definitely breaking out. And I'm hoping there's going to be more with him where they get him more into a mainstream kind of thing. It is kind of weird to see him, starting off pay-per-views like he's been doing. But they've been doing that, and I'm like kind of surprised by it. This is the third pay-per-view that MJF starts off the night. And at some point, we're going to get back to MJF going back to the main event and defending that World Heavyweight title. We have to get back to that at some point. I would want to see MJF completely removed from the heavyweight title picture and not seeing that title defended, 3-4 months at a time. Like I want a little more of that. Listen, the trade-off, we're getting a lot more MJF regularly on pay-per-view, which is fine because normally we didn't get that as much. That's okay with me. But let's not lose sight of the World Heavyweight title. They are setting up a storyline for it. I'm going to imagine it full gear next month. We're going to get a match with that. And that's where MJF and Jay White will have their match. And they'll set up that match coming up pretty soon because they're only a couple weeks away. But across the board, AEW, they really do deliver some good pay-per-views. I have not been disappointed. All Out, All In. The Grand Slam event in New York last month, also excellent. And now we're here at WrestleDream, also another great night of wrestling. I enjoy what they're doing, as I say, constantly. Good stuff. So a lot's going to be talked about after Dynamite, and of course, I'll be recording the show after Dynamite, my normal Wednesday night program, and I'll have that for you up here, kingofpodcasts.com, and I hope you enjoyed what I did tonight when it comes to setting things up for what's going to be coming up with AEW when it comes to the fallout from WrestleDream, because there's obviously quite a bit, and now we're going to find out what they're going to do with it.
Woo!
And so I'm curious about it. So enjoy what they did. What a good night. Like, if I had to go and give any kind of a rating, I couldn't, because it's like, it was basically an A show. And seeing Edge come out tonight really took it over the top. A+ show. I was not disappointed by any match, not slowed down, nothing. I was glued to what was going on tonight. It was great stuff. That's going to do it for the show. Come back this Wednesday for another Wrestle Control podcast because wrestling needs us.